Now, the issue is that most bullies kinda know that they're bullies. And while women absolutely can be bullies, that is, they are intentionally using tactics to inflict emotional or psychological pain in order to get what they want.
Shit tests.
I also believe that a lot of women actually aren't aware of how they may be communicating disrespect to men. And this is because, at least in part, respect means different things to men and women.
My man is not the boss of me. Patriarchy, oppression. It seems like you guys really love the base doctor himself, Dr. Orion Taraban, and how honest as well as knowledgeable that he is when it comes to addressing relationship problems that we all face in modern times today. So today, we're going to dive back in and go over what I think is one of his most important topics. And I think most women and men that watch this platform will appreciate this one because we're going to talk about one of the fundamental things that destroys relationships: disrespect. So let's go right over to the content, unpack the lessons as well as the learnings, and get active. Without further ado.
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is addressing female disrespect. This is an extremely important topic, both for men and women. So I hope everyone will be listening carefully to today's talk. Let's jump right in.
Let's go.
The first thing that's important to understand is that disrespect is typically a process. It happens gradually over time. The best predictor of overt disrespect is covert disrespect, which are small behaviors that have plausible deniability. So if you don't want to have a larger problem on your hands further down the road, it's important to address disrespect while it is still in its smaller forms. The clearest examples of the process of disrespect are seen in high schools and prisons. A bully doesn't usually go straight to shaking down his target. That's actually pretty risky. If he doesn't know who he's dealing with, he could always pick the wrong guy to mess with, and that's going to make his life more difficult and complicated than he intended. So what these folks tend to do is they kind of test their victim.
Waters.
A classic example is bumping into their target as they're crossing paths in a hallway and seeing how he responds. This is a subtle test because there's some plausible deniability here, like, oh, well, maybe this person just wasn't looking where he was going. It happens. Sometimes people jostle into each other. However, if the bully bumps into the target and the target says, "Excuse me,"
he knows he's weak.
That person is now pegged as a target for escalation. On the other hand, if the target were to respond appropriately and cast a warning glance at the bully or issue a verbal warning, that bully could always play it off. Whoa, hey man, chill out. What got you so worked up? But he would probably think twice about escalating the situation.
The more that I hear him speak, the more that I understand the importance of psychology, which is why I like to break these different pieces of content down from a psychological perspective. Human behavior is fascinating to me, and what can be applied to school bullies or men in prisons, right? Because these are typically male-on-male relationships. You can also take that dynamic and apply it to female-to-male relationships and dynamics. During the dating phase, you are setting the boundaries of what you will tolerate. Unfortunately, though, and some say that it's a little bit of women's biological makeup, I think it's more so the environment that they grow up in. They are given instructions, if not subtle clues, on how to push the boundaries to men. Typically, the more attractive that they are, the less that they've been confronted about their deflections and their lack of accountability. And it could get so bad that some may not even understand that what they're doing is disrespectful. As men, it's a requirement to recognize these things early and often, because things that start small, you can kick that can down until all of your authority gets chipped away. Let's continue.
Now, the issue is that most bullies kinda know that they're bullies. And while women absolutely can be bullies, that is, they are intentionally using tactics to inflict emotional or psychological pain in order to get what they want.
Shit tests.
I also believe that a lot of women actually aren't aware of how they may be communicating disrespect to men. And this is because, at least in part, respect means different things to men and women. Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, please consider sending this video to someone who might benefit from its message. It's word of mouth referrals like that really help to grow this channel. And if you're thinking about going to grad school, then you need to check out my top-rated GRE self-study course at stellargre.com.
I took the GMAT.
You can use the coupon code PSYCH for 10% off all membership plans.
GMAT's for business school.
Now, at this point,
that test.
I'm going to offer the women in the audience a really simple test to determine whether a behavior is likely going to be perceived as disrespectful to a man. Here it is. With respect to any behavior, just ask yourself, would I say the same thing in the same way to my boss if I was interested in keeping my job? If the answer to that question is no, congratulations. You potentially have a disrespectful behavior on your hands.
That's a fantastic test. And oftentimes my comparison is like, let's say you're dating a young lady and she blames a specific behavior on it being that time in the month and not being able to control her hormones or emotions. Meanwhile, she goes up into work every day and everything is fine, hunky-dory, and she figures out a way to get through it and or over it to get the job done. Well, that is a stark contradiction because she has more respect for her boss than for you. What if you could copy the exact system that I use to generate between $50,000 and $100,000 a month purely from posting commentary content online? My life right now consists of no boss, no commute, no alarm, and I work when I want. And I've spent the past 8 years building this framework out from scratch. And 1 million subscribers later, over 400 million lifetime views, and I've never once talked about exactly how I do it. Until now. Now, my system is called Viral to Value, and it's the step-by-step blueprint that I personally use every single day to turn viral moments into real, life-changing income in any niche. If you're ready to stop guessing and start building something that is actually yours, click the link below and let's get to work. But the good doctor agrees with me as well. I think most of these women don't understand that they're being disrespectful, and also that's up to the men as well. I talk about women coddle women's behaviors, so do men. And we see this directly in the podcast conversations that I often go over. Psychologically speaking, boundary pushing is not determined by sex. It's something that we all do. We all push limits in order to understand our degrees of freedom. But the onus is on a man to never lose respect if you are to be the leader of your relationship.
A lot of times you set yourself up for these people to have these expectations. The more that you allow a person to disrespect you and you give chance after chance after chance, they know exactly what it is that they can get past you. And so they know that there's really no bare minimum. They can do whatever they want to because you are going to stay. And so until you actually put your foot down and start advocating for yourself, you're going to continue to have that same question. But a person disrespecting you should be the moment that you start reevaluating that relationship and who they are to you.
If you were interested in keeping your job, would you roll your eyes at your boss? Would you be dismissive of your boss's feedback? Would you complain angrily? Would you respond to your boss's requests sarcastically? Would you nag your boss to comply with your demands? Would you mutter under your breath when your boss talks at meetings? Would you talk badly about your boss with your coworkers behind his back? Would you tease your boss? Would you be openly indifferent or uninterested in your boss's proposals?
My man is not the boss of me. Patriarchy, oppression. The feminists are certainly going to love the comparison, the analogy of your man in a relationship to a boss.
Would you mock your boss's attempts to maintain order and discipline? I think most of us understand that if we're interested in keeping our jobs, the answer to all of those questions is no. And for the 3% of you out there listening to this who are now saying to yourselves, well, Ryan, actually, I tease my boss all the time. We have a really warm and playful relationship. Okay, then the question for you becomes, would you act like that with your boss in front of other clients or customers? Of course not. And why is that? Because you know how that behavior would come off to other people who are not initiated into your special little dynamic. And this means that you understand my point. Now, Before I address why this behavior is detrimental to women's best interests, let me respond to the most common objection I usually receive at this point in my argument. In short, the objection is some variant of, that's nice, but a man is not the boss of me.
There we go.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm glad he's addressing it.
However, your boss is not the boss of you either. You're not his slave. He can't make you do things that you don't want to do. You are a participant in an at-will professional relationship. He's not the boss of you. However, he is the boss of you in a professional context, or even better, he's the boss of the employees, which is a role that you voluntarily agreed to assume. And within that dynamic, the boss has legitimate authority to make reasonable demands of and set reasonable expectations for his employees. The person who builds the frame, or to use my sexual marketplace metaphor, builds the ship, is the boss or captain. This is not always the man, but it generally is. Why? Because it's usually men making bids to women to enter into their lifestyles, not the other way around.
You're right.
However, even if you disagree with that perspective, a valid retort to the objection I previously stated would be, why do you feel that your boss is entitled to a higher level of respect than I am? Go shack up with that guy, or see how he puts up with your bullshit on his time off. Ladies, if you disrespect your man in ways that you wouldn't disrespect your boss, you are functionally communicating that your professional relationship with your boss is more valuable to you than your intimate relationship with your man. And maybe for you it is. And the communication is appropriate. No problem. However,
Let me back it up for a quick second. I love his retort of the boss example. Perfect word choicing. You decided to enroll to the company, so you are within the frame or the mission or the vision or the paradigm of that company. That company has assigned a boss to you that has authority over what it is that you are creating. And if you don't get with the program, if you don't meet and or exceeds expectations, or if there's back talk, there's disrespect, well, then the boss might need to put you on a PIP plan, all right? A performance improvement plan, or you need to be fired from the company. I love that framing because it continues to put men in the authoritative position, one of which most women want men to be in anyway. If you want that man to lead the household, then treating him with the respect that you treat your boss in the household is the way to go. Now, with any good boss, there's going to be compromise within that relationship. You might have a better idea in regards to something, but you shouldn't snap back. You shouldn't talk back disrespectfully. Deliver information with no attitude in a peaceful way, and inevitably know when to let things go. And all that is going to require her to regulate her emotions, just like she would in a professional environment. And newsflash, emotionally regulated people brings back accountability.
So many women treat their bosses way better than they treat their spouses. They respond to their bosses with more submission and respect than they accord to their husbands. Why? Because according to them, this job is more important to them. They don't want to lose it, so they will do everything in their power, even if it means to tame their own anger. How many of you get angry to your boss and you speak back to them the same way that you speak back to your spouses? You see people treating everyone else out there better than they treat their spouses. Why? Because of that respectful fear that they have around them. I don't want to lose my job. If I misbehave, I will be thrown out. We discovered that submission is not the problem. The problem is familiarity. And you know, they say that familiarity breeds contempt. The issue is where we have put value. When you understand how valuable your marriage is, it's not harder for you to respect your spouse. When you understand that your spouse is a very important part of your being, you will treat them that way. We all have the capacity and the ability in us to respect people, to control ourselves around these people. But familiarity will not allow us to do so.
Being familiar breeds contempt. Damn, that's some true ish. I might need to put that in my viral to value, because when I first started doing this content things, the people that I told in my life that I was getting ready to do this, the naysayers. But when I started putting content up And then I got people that weren't familiar with me looking at the content. That's when attraction really started to grow. And I don't think they were doing it out of being mean. It just could have been there putting their own limiting beliefs on what it is that they think that I can do.
However, if it isn't, you should be aware that you may be communicating this message inadvertently. All right, so why is disrespecting men bad for women? We can approach the answer in two ways. In the first place, a man who has any self-worth whatsoever and who enjoys any kind of optionality in the sexual marketplace will not tolerate disrespect. So the woman being overtly or covertly disrespectful, she may be jeopardizing what could otherwise be a fulfilling and rewarding relationship for her. It's kind of the obvious reason. But here's the second reason, and it's a little spicier. Disrespecting men not only threatens the women's relationships, it also threatens their positive emotionality. This is because it is not possible for a woman to love a man she does not respect. It is possible for a man to love a woman he does not respect. That happens every day. However, it is not possible for a woman to love a man she does not respect.
Right.
One of the
Respect
many
is paramount.
differences between men and women.
Yep.
For a woman, where the respect goes, the love follows. So disrespect not only threatens the relationship, it threatens the love in her heart. It threatens the woman's own positive regard. Men, nipping covert disrespect in the bud is absolutely essential to the long-term health of your relationship. Addressing it is a way to safeguard her positive regard for you. If the disrespect is allowed to continue without consequence, not only will the behavior likely become increasingly problematic, but the high interest and attraction you may currently enjoy, which are the conditions of her continued loyalty, will be jeopardized, compromising the sustainability of the relationship. Understand?
I do.
This is a long video, but it's an important subject.
Very important.
What do you think? What is your experience with covert disrespect? Let me know in the comments below.
Okay.
And
okay. Listening to his thoughts as well, you're also beginning to understand why I come at so much of these boss babes, right, within their ideologies where they prioritize selfishness or career or money in lieu of compromise or cooperativeness with a man in a relationship, and the power that they feel within the workplace of the things that they're doing and the inability to turn that off when they enter that household. That's why I talk about so many of these women that are wall banger Hall of Famers. They request the authority of a man while still thinking that they're due the treatment of a wife while effectively holding the accountability of a child. But anyway, back to this topic of respect, that's why I focus on it so much, within the content, because of how important that it is. And you just heard the good old doctor speak. Men can love without respect. Women cannot love without respect. I did a piece of content yesterday where the woman in the audience is asking the panelists from tonight's conversation on stage. The man provides 100%, takes care of the children, right? Like the man is paying 100% of the bills. The woman pays zero. The woman makes more money than the man. And the woman, who doesn't obviously respect the man, still wants more, still thinks that it's not good enough. Now, this man has, for some reason, put this woman up on this nasty little pedestal from what she does not deserve. And she thinks that she deserves to be there because she hears people from the culture calling her a queen simply from existing. Now, I will say she was an attractive young lady, but she hasn't been taught boundaries. She hasn't been told no. And this has to be something that is teachable from the guy within the relationship. You have to know when to say no. You have to know and recognize what that shit test is. You have to be able to know when you're kicking the can down the road because it feels good in the moment to achieve peace, but you're not setting the upfront parameters of what you will tolerate. So just like that bully in high school, you are giving her data of how she is to respect you. And because you didn't put that down, the love from her side is being lost. And now she's looking elsewhere for your replacement. And more than likely, it'll be unbeknownst to you until it's too late. My G's, you must communicate your boundaries early. And if she keeps on crossing it, stop rewarding her disrespect with access to you. Ain't no woman on this planet that is worth it. I don't care what they look like. I don't care how that mammary gland sit up on them chests or how thick and deep them hindquarters are. Y'all understand exactly what it is that I mean. But if you are afraid to correct them, now some of them are uncorrectable, all right? They're not teachable whatsoever. Those is just condom sex. You kick them to the side of the road after that. But there are some out there with a glimmer of hope, but they have never been with a man that holds himself with masculine virtues and values. So they just need to be led with the proper authority. And without that authority, your household is going to turn into a battlefield, all right? Or your relationship or your life. All right, guys, I think I'm done with the content right here. Shout out again to Dr. Orion Taraban. I'll leave his information, his channel down up in the description box down below. Make sure you go check out that brother's channel. A wealth of information. I really enjoy going over this content, as I'm sure you guys could tell. All right. But nevertheless, guys, I appreciate you guys for rocking with me. I appreciate you guys for joining me on this journey. Shout out to viraltovalue.com. If you want my system of how I create all of this, how I do all of this, link to it down in the description box down below. All of the information that you'll see all up on the website is a video up there. Consume the video. And if you're interested, come on through. If not, I'll see you next lifetime, baby. All right? Trust me. All right, but I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And as always, I'll see you very, very soon. All right? Till next time. Peace.
So, without further ado, MTR, cut through the BS like we in charge. No cap with the rappers like steel bars. I'm packing and rapping like here we are. Here we are. Mediocre tutorial reviews. Like, comment, share my views. Come up and I paid my dues. Big step in my black way shoes. MTR, he break it down, yeah, it's MTR. Check out the sound when it's MTR. No one put it down like it's MTR.